My beloved child, pause for a moment, because what you are about to hear is not what you expected. Everyone believes they understand the signs. Everyone believes they can recognize destiny when it appears. But what if one of the biggest truths in your story was hidden inside something that looked completely different from what you imagined? What if the event that confused you the most was actually carrying a message meant specifically for you? Stay here. Do not rush past this moment. Because there is a reason these words found you today. A strange energy has been moving beneath the surface of your life. Quiet. Invisible. Yet powerful enough to change the direction of an entire future. And it begins with a story you may have heard before. A soulmate. A sudden marriage. A decision that seemed to happen overnight. No warning. No explanation. No time for understanding. Just one unexpected moment that left questions hanging in the air. But listen carefully. The hidden truth is not about their marriage. The hidden truth is about you. And that changes everything. For a long time, you believed that timing was the most important part of destiny. You watched doors open for others. You watched opportunities arrive for other people. You watched relationships form while your own questions remained unanswered. Sometimes you smiled. Sometimes you wondered. Sometimes you looked toward the future and quietly asked, "When will my moment arrive?" But there was something you could not see. Something beyond the visible story. Because life often places a mirror in front of us disguised as another person's journey. The marriage that happened suddenly. The commitment that appeared without warning. The chapter that seemed to begin out of nowhere. Was never meant to make you feel left behind. It was meant to wake something up inside you. Think about that. What if this moment is not showing you what you lost? What if it is showing you what is possible? A surprising question appears here. Why does certain news stay in your thoughts longer than other news? Why do some stories disappear after a few minutes, while others seem to echo in your mind for days? Because not every story is connected to your path. But the ones that carry a message for your future create a reaction deep within your spirit. And that reaction is not random. There is a reason you are hearing this now. There is a reason you felt drawn toward this message. There is a reason your attention stopped here. Because a hidden realization is trying to reach you. The realization is this. You are much closer to a turning point than you realize. Not someday. Not eventually. Closer than you think. Yet most people miss this stage. Why? Because transformation rarely announces itself. It arrives quietly. Like the first light before sunrise. Like a distant sound before a storm of blessings. Like a small shift in thinking that eventually changes an entire life. And that is exactly where you stand now. Right at the edge of something new. Right before understanding catches up with destiny. Wait a little longer. Because the next piece of this story reveals why that sudden marriage was never the end of a chapter. It was the beginning of a message. A message carrying clues about your own future. And once you see those clues, you will never look at your journey the same way again. Take a deep breath. The truth is only beginning to reveal itself. And what comes next may answer a question your heart has been carrying for far longer than you realize. A quiet realization is approaching now. Not the kind that arrives with noise. Not the kind that forces its way into your attention. This realization arrives gently. Like a door opening in a room you thought was already complete. And when you understand it, the hidden truth behind that sudden marriage becomes even clearer. Because most people only see the event. They see the ceremony. They see the announcement. They see the photographs, the celebrations, the smiles. But destiny rarely speaks through appearances. It speaks through patterns. And there is a pattern here that many never notice. Stay with this message a little longer. You may be standing closer to an answer than you think. The truth is that your soulmate's sudden marriage was not simply about choosing a person. It was about choosing a lesson. A lesson that needed to be experienced. A lesson that needed to unfold. A lesson that would eventually reveal something important about you. Now pause and think about this. Have you ever looked back at a moment from years ago and suddenly understood why it happened? At the time it felt confusing. At the time it felt unnecessary. At the time it felt like life had taken a strange turn. Yet years later you realized. That moment was preparing you for something greater. The same principle exists here. Because not every connection enters our lives to stay forever. Some arrive to awaken awareness. Some arrive to teach value. Some arrive to reveal hidden strengths. And some arrive simply to help two people discover who they truly are. What if the sudden marriage was part of that process? What if it was never designed to close a door, but to reveal one? The answer may surprise you. Because the hidden truth is connected to your energy. Your growth. Your evolution. And the version of yourself that is emerging right now. Something has been changing inside you recently. Maybe you cannot fully explain it. Maybe the change is subtle. But it is happening. You are thinking differently. Seeing differently. Feeling differently. The things that once consumed your attention no longer have the same power. The things that once felt impossible now seem strangely attainable. That shift matters. Much more than you realize. Because destiny responds to inner transformation. Not just outer circumstances. Many people spend years waiting for external events to change. But the most powerful changes begin within. And when they do, the outside world eventually follows. This is where the hidden connection appears. That sudden marriage became a mirror. A reflection. A signal. Not because you are meant to compare yourself to another person. But because you are meant to recognize your own readiness. Readiness for a new chapter. Readiness for deeper connections. Readiness for possibilities you once believed were distant. Listen carefully. There are moments in life when the universe seems to whisper. Look closer. This is one of those moments. Because beneath the surface of that story is a question. A powerful question. If someone else's life can change suddenly, why can't yours? Think about that. Why can't your breakthrough arrive unexpectedly? Why can't your opportunity appear without warning? Why can't your future shift in a single conversation? Why can't one ordinary day become unforgettable? People often underestimate how quickly life can transform. They imagine destiny moving slowly. Step by step. Month after month. Year after year. Yet history is filled with sudden turning points. One meeting. One message. One realization. One decision. And everything changes. You may be standing much closer to one of those moments than you realize. There is something else you need to understand. The soul recognizes timing before the mind does. That is why certain messages feel familiar even when they are new. That is why certain words seem to echo inside you. That is why certain moments create a strange feeling of recognition. Your deeper self notices patterns long before your conscious mind understands them. And right now, your deeper self is noticing something. It is noticing movement, momentum, possibility. The feeling that a chapter is approaching. Not because someone else experienced it, but because your own story is preparing for expansion. Take a moment and imagine this. Imagine looking back 1 year from now. Imagine remembering today. Imagine realizing that this was the exact period when everything quietly began changing. Wouldn't that be remarkable? Wouldn't it be incredible if the answers you have been seeking were already moving toward you? Not racing. Not forcing. Simply approaching at the perfect pace. That is how many important things arrive. Not through pressure, but through alignment. And alignment is happening right now. There is a reason certain people are entering your awareness. A reason certain opportunities are appearing. A reason certain thoughts keep returning. Nothing meaningful appears repeatedly without purpose. Patterns are messages. And messages are invitations. Invitations to pay attention. Invitations to grow. Invitations to trust that something larger is unfolding. You do not need every answer today. You do not need every detail today. You do not need the entire map. You only need enough faith to take the next step. Because clarity often arrives after movement, not before it. This is where many people become stuck. They wait for certainty. They wait for guarantees. They wait until every question has been answered. But life rarely works that way. The path reveals itself as you walk it. The future reveals itself as you move toward it. And the hidden truth behind that sudden marriage points directly toward this lesson. Someone else's chapter is reminding you not to abandon your own. Someone else's story is reminding you that transformation is real. Someone else's experience is reminding you that life can surprise you. In the most beautiful ways. Pause here for a moment. Because another layer is about to unfold. What if the real message was never about romance? What if it was about belief? Belief in possibility. Belief in timing. Belief in your own unfolding journey. Many people lose opportunities not because they lack talent. Not because they lack intelligence. Not because they lack potential. They lose opportunities because they quietly stop believing. And once belief disappears, they stop noticing doors that are opening around them. But you are being called to notice. To observe. To remain awake to possibility. Because something important is developing beneath the surface. You may not see it clearly yet. But that does not mean it isn't there. A seed beneath the soil is invisible. Yet growth is already happening. A sunrise before dawn is unseen. Yet light is already approaching. A future blessing before arrival is hidden. Yet movement is already underway. Never mistake invisibility for absence. The things that matter most often begin where eyes cannot see. This message found you because you needed that reminder. Not tomorrow. Not next month. Now. There are dreams within you that deserve another chance. There are goals within you that deserve renewed attention. There are possibilities within you that deserve belief. And perhaps that is the greatest hidden truth of all. The sudden marriage was not showing you someone else's destiny. It was reminding you that destiny itself still exists. That change still happens. That new chapters still begin. That unexpected blessings still arrive. That life remains capable of surprising you. And if these words resonate with your heart, leave a comment below sharing where you are watching from. It is always inspiring to see people from different places connected through the same journey of hope and discovery. And if messages like this speak to you, consider subscribing so we can continue exploring these deeper truths together. But do not leave yet. Because an even deeper layer remains hidden beneath everything we have discussed. A layer connected directly to your future. A layer connected directly to the choices you are making right now. And what it reveals may completely change the way you view the days ahead. The story is not finished. Not even close. In fact, the most important part has not yet been revealed. Because there is one final pattern hidden inside this mystery. A pattern that explains why certain events appear suddenly. Why certain people arrive unexpectedly. Why certain opportunities emerge without warning. And why your own next chapter may be much closer than anyone realizes. Stay with this message. The turning point is approaching. And when the next truth reveals itself, you may finally understand why this story was always connected to you. Something unusual is happening right now. Not around you. Not somewhere far away. Within you. A shift. A quiet movement. A rearranging of thoughts, expectations, and possibilities that has been taking place beneath the surface for much longer than you realize. And this is where the hidden truth becomes impossible to ignore. Because the deeper you look into the story of that sudden marriage, the more you discover that it was never meant to be a story about another person. It was meant to become a message about timing. Your timing. Your preparation. Your next chapter. Stay with me. Because what comes next may connect pieces of your journey that once seemed completely unrelated. For a long time, you may have viewed your path through the lens of waiting. Waiting for clarity. Waiting for confirmation. Waiting for the right opportunity. Waiting for the right person. Waiting for the right moment. But what if waiting was never the real story? What if preparation was? Think about that carefully. The world often celebrates visible results. The announcement. The milestone. The breakthrough. The celebration. But very few people talk about everything that happened before those moments appeared. The invisible growth. The silent lessons. The private victories. The difficult decisions. The countless moments of becoming. And that is exactly where your attention needs to be right now. Because while you have been focused on what has not happened yet, something extraordinary has been happening within you. You have been evolving. You have been gaining wisdom. You have been developing a deeper understanding of yourself. Even during days that felt ordinary. Even during moments that felt slow. Even during periods when it seemed like nothing was changing. Growth was happening. Quietly. Patiently. Powerfully. And now that growth is beginning to create momentum. Momentum creates movement. Movement creates opportunities. Opportunities create turning points. And turning points create entirely new futures. That is why this message feels different. Because it is not asking you to focus on the past. It is inviting you to notice what is approaching. There is a question that keeps echoing through this story. A question many people avoid. What if the life you are hoping for is already moving toward you? Not in some distant future. Not years from now. But right now. At this very moment. What if unseen pieces are already falling into place? What if conversations are happening that will eventually affect your path? What if opportunities are forming beyond your current view? What if the next chapter has already begun? And you simply have not recognized it yet? Pause for a second. Let that possibility settle in your heart. Because sometimes the most powerful truth is also the simplest. Life is always moving. Even when it appears still. The river continues flowing. The seasons continue changing. The stars continue traveling across the sky. And your journey continues unfolding whether you can see every detail or not. Many people make a mistake during this stage. They assume that because they cannot see progress, progress is not happening. But reality works differently. The most meaningful transformations often occur in silence. The strongest foundations are built before anyone notices the structure rising above them. And your foundation has been growing stronger. Every challenge taught something. Every disappointment revealed something. Every delay prepared something. Nothing was wasted. Not a single lesson. Not a single experience. Not a single chapter. Everything has been contributing to the person you are becoming. And the person you are becoming is capable of receiving things the older version of you could not. That matters more than you know. Because destiny is not only about receiving what you desire. It is also about becoming the person capable of sustaining it. A beautiful opportunity arrives. But are you ready to recognize it? A meaningful connection appears. But are you ready to value it? A new chapter opens. But are you ready to walk through the door? These are the questions that shape the future. And according to the energy surrounding this message, your answers are changing. You are becoming more ready. More aware. More aligned. More prepared than you were before. That is why the story of that sudden marriage keeps appearing as a symbol. Not because it defines your future. But because it demonstrates how quickly life can shift once preparation meets timing. One day everything seems ordinary. The next day a new chapter begins. One day the future feels distant. The next day it feels close enough to touch. One day questions dominate your thoughts. The next day answers begin arriving. This happens more often than people realize. The breakthrough rarely announces its arrival in advance. It simply arrives. And later people say, "I never saw it coming." Maybe that sentence will become part of your story too. Maybe one day you will look back and smile. Maybe one day you will remember this exact period and realize that everything was quietly aligning behind the scenes. Maybe one day the pieces that seem disconnected today will fit together perfectly. Because that is how many meaningful journeys unfold. Not all at once. Not with complete clarity. But step by step. Moment by moment. Revelation by revelation. There is another truth you need to hear before this chapter closes. The future does not belong to the people who know everything. It belongs to the people who remain open. Open to possibility. Open to growth. Open to unexpected blessings. Open to opportunities that arrive in unfamiliar forms. Remain open. Because the next chapter of your story may not arrive in the package you imagined. It may appear differently. It may arrive through a conversation. A coincidence. A decision. An opportunity. A connection. A realization. Yet when it arrives, something inside you will recognize it. The same way your heart recognized this message. The same way your spirit paused here today. The same way certain moments feel strangely familiar before they fully unfold. Trust that feeling. Trust your growth. Trust your preparation. Trust the progress you cannot yet measure. Most importantly, trust that your story is still being written. Because the hidden truth behind everything we discussed is not about another person's sudden marriage. It is about your own unfolding destiny. A destiny that is still moving. Still growing. Still revealing itself. And perhaps much closer than you think. So as this part comes to a close, carry this thought with you. The chapters that arrive suddenly are usually the chapters that have been preparing themselves quietly for a very long time. And if that is true, then something remarkable may already be preparing itself for you right now. Not someday. Not eventually. Right now. The story continues.